tangerine orange washing into Russian blue, surrounded by a strange beauty. These are two things that you probably don't think of when you are thinking about death. But today I'll be reciting two poems, both from Brian Turner's Here Bullet, which take a different outlook than most people would on dying in wartime. The first one I'll be presenting is an excerpt from 2,000 Pounds. I know you guys have already heard it. You guys will probably hear it again today, but it's just, a short excerpt, and then the other one will be AB negative. Sergeant Ladeau of the National Guard speaks, but cannot hear the words coming out of his mouth. It's just as well his eardrums ruptured, because it lends the world a certain calm, though the traffic circle is filled with people running in panic. Their legs a blur like horses in a carousel, turning and turning the way the tire spins on the Humvee flipped to its side. The gunner's hatch, he was thrown from a mystery to him now. A dark hole in metal, the color of sand. And if he could, he would crawl back inside of it. And though his fingertips scratch at the asphalt, he hasn't the strength to move. Shrapnel has torn into his ribcage, and he will bleed to death in minutes. But he finds himself surrounded by a strange beauty, a shine of light on the broken. A woman's hand touching his face, tenderly, the way his wife might. Amazed to find a wedding ring on his crushed hand, the bright gold sinking in flesh going to bone. And then the second poem, like I said, is AB negative, the surgeon's poem. Talia Fields lies under a gray ceiling of clouds, just under the turbulence, with anesthetics dripping from an IV into her arm. And the flight surgeon says, the shrapnel cauterized as it traveled through her, breaking this rib as it entered, burning a hole in her left lung to finish in her back. And all this, she doesn't hear, except perhaps his music, that faraway music of people's voices when they speak gently and with care. A comfort to her on a stretcher, in a flying hospital en route to Landstuhl. Just under the rains of midnight, Talia fades in and out of consciousness, while a nurse dabs her lips with a moist towel, her palm on Talia's forehead, her vitals slipping some as burned flesh gives way to the heat of blood, tunnels within opening to fill her, just enough blood to cough up and drown in. Talia sees shadows of people working to save her, but cannot feel their hands, cannot hear them any longer. And when she closes her eyes, the most beautiful images rise in the darkness. Tangerine washing into Russian blue, with the droning engine humming on in a dragonfly's wings. Island palms painting the night sky an impossible hue, with their thick brushes dripping green. A way of dealing with the fact that Talia Fields is gone, long gone, about as far from Mississippi as she can get, 10,000 feet above Iraq, with a blanket draped over her body. And an exhausted surgeon in tears, his bloodied hands on her chest, his head sunk down. A nurse guiding him to a nearby seat and holding him as he cries. Though no one hears it, because nothing can be heard where pilots fly in blackout. The plane like a shadow guiding the rain, here in the droning engines of midnight. So as you guys could probably see in the two poems, the scenery around them, whether it was the traffic circle or was the inside of the plane, there was chaos everywhere. There was people running because a suicide bomber had detonated a bomb, and there was a bunch of frantic medics that were trying to save this girl's life or stabilize her until they could get to an actual medical facility. But the actual people that were the main characters of the story, the Talia Fields and Sergeant Ladeau, both were very peaceful and found beauty in their last moments on Earth, which is contrary to how most of us perceive death. And so obviously, Brian Turner couldn't actually know what was going on in these people's heads as they were dying. So this gives us insight into how he feels about dying in wartime. It's clear that Brian Turner thinks that war is so terrible, so frightening, so despicable, that dying as a means to get out of it is not only welcoming, but peaceful. Thank you.